Health officials worry the stress over COVID-19 is leading to more overdoses. Some churches are planning to resume in-person services next Sunday. Pastors say they will follow CDC guidelines to keep people safe.
Rain chances and warmer temperatures are on the way this week. I'll have your forecast right now at 4:30.
Nearly 6,500 Kentuckians have now tested positive for the novel coronavirus in Kentucky, while more than 300 have now died. As some struggle through the stress and unknowns created by COVID-19, this time is proving to be especially hard on those already battling addiction. WYMT's Will Puckett joins us now live from his home with more. Will?
Steve, Addiction Recovery Care, or ARC, is a group out of Louisa. They deal with men and women who are on the path to recovery. During the past 2 months, however, they have seen some of those patients start to relapse as people lose their jobs and do not know what tomorrow holds. Now, they are wanting people to know that help is still there and the resources that they so desperately need are still available.
Being kind, making sure to check on people if you know that they are struggling, not being afraid to reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking about you today, or can I help you with anything? Those are very important things to know and to really understand that people in addiction, they're not bad people. They are sick people who need help.
Now, Steve, ARC started something called ARC Anywhere that allows people who are currently in recovery to have access to all the important things that they know just simply right here on their phone. Matt Brown says that is key for people who feel alone right now as we all continue to struggle through finding what's next for tomorrow. Steve?
Okay, thank you. The Toyota plant in Georgetown resumes production today. However, officials say this week it's focusing on health protocols. All employees filled out online surveys before entering the facility today. Medical staff is also checking everyone's temperatures at the door. Employees will have to wear masks. The president of Toyota says most production is already socially distant. Barriers are in place in areas where social distancing is not possible. We are inching closer to some horse racing here in the Bluegrass State. Churchill Downs is back open. Its stables reopened this morning. Racing will resume Saturday, but without fans. Meanwhile, Keeneland's spring meet would have ended by now. In a statement, Keeneland says it's looking forward to the fall meet and added it is hoping to get some summer race dates. More churches are planning to resume in-person services next week. The governor had said in-person services could resume next week, but some churches are planning to resume services a bit earlier after a federal judge's order. One of those is a church in Lincoln County. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to the pastor and has more from Stanford.
Churches have found themselves in the crosshairs of a lot of debate since the pandemic started 2 months ago.
There are so many broad opinions on when to reopen and how to reopen, and both sides have medical data and valid reasons.
Starting next Sunday in stages and with caution, Grace Fellowship Church will start having services for the first time in almost 2 months.
We won't have Sunday school, we won't have children's church, we won't have nursery, and we're inviting people to do a drive-in and just park and not come in, as well as those that want to come in will have a certain number that will be available.
Grafe estimates the capacity will be about 75 to 100 seated in family units separated from others.
We are recommending to follow the CDC guidances, which means when you come to church, just like you would any other business, bring your mask with you, homemade, store purchased, whatever you have.
Graves says he realizes there's a lot of differing viewpoints regarding whether it is time to resume services or not, but he says it's very important to show respect during this very challenging time for everyone. Some are recommending there not be congregational singing or in choirs. Graves says use some personal wisdom in that.
We did discuss whether or not we're going to have congregational singing, and part of that depends on how far apart we're able to set the groups.
Graves says starting out they will have one service, but that could change based on the interest for these in-person services. In Lincoln County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The pastor told us he is encouraging the older people in the church and those susceptible to health problems to strongly consider still staying at home. The service will be available on the radio and later in the day on a YouTube channel. Also reopening in the coming weeks as part of Governor Beshear's reopening plan are retail stores on May 20th. Restaurants are reopening May 22nd with 33% capacity and outdoor seating. And barbershops, cosmetology, and similar services are reopening May 25th. And as many as 10-person social gatherings will also be allowed at that time unless something changes. As Governor Beshear ramps up COVID-19 testing, Corbin is preparing for Kroger's drive-through testing site. This is what it looks like at the Corbin Arena. Testing starts tomorrow there and goes through Thursday. Governor Beshear says they have the capability to test more than 400 per day. Officials urge people to sign up online through Kroger. Back in March, we told you about the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park closing due to COVID-19 concerns. Last week, the park announced its trails would reopen. WYMT's Dakota Makris took a hike over to the national park today in Bell County and has more.
It is a beautiful day to get out and enjoy a hike, and I did just that. I'm on Fitness Loop Trail here at Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, and the good news is the park is increasing all recreational access to all trails in the park. This sign telling park visitors the trails are open and ready for hiking. All national parks could reopen trails on a case-by-case basis, and they follow guidelines from the White House and the CDC on how to keep park visitors safe when hiking.
So we are increasing accessibility here at Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. And again, it's a phased accessibility plan. So this weekend we opened up all of the trails. However, not all of the trailheads are open. Any of the trailheads located at picnic areas, especially with restrooms, those are still closed.
Now, the park does work closely with health officials and encourages everyone who is hiking to please remember to practice good social distancing. But for now, I'm in Bell County, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Park officials ask you to plan ahead if you plan to use the trails. Visitors are asked to remember trash collection is suspended due to the limited availability of cleaning supplies. So you're asked to, quote, pack it in and pack it out with what you bring into the park. Dakota will have more on this later tonight. The company that makes Louisville Slugger baseball bats is bringing some employees back to work. The company is receiving federal relief from the Paycheck Protection Program. Some employees will be working from home. Others will be fulfilling face mask orders. The company is also preparing to reopen the Louisville Slugger Museum on May 20th.
Well, we've seen that mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day. Now we're starting to see those thicker clouds really starting to move into the mountains. We'll continue to see that tonight and heading into tomorrow and even a little bit into your Wednesday. We'll go ahead and take you up to a few of those cameras as we look on top of Buffalo Mountain. You're still seeing those thicker clouds. You see that blue peeking through every once in a while. So still seeing kind of those peaks of sunshine. Interstate 64 up into Moorhead. They've been dealing with a lot of those cloudy skies today. If you're in that Big Sandy region, especially up towards I-64 in Moorhead, you've been dealing with the kind of that thicker cloud cover throughout the day, and you can see that based on the temperatures too. Upper 40s in Moorhead, Prestonsburg, Pikeville, Jackson, however those low to mid 50s down into the Cumberland Valley and even closer down into Middlesboro, right along that Kentucky-Tennessee line. You can see you guys are in about 56 degrees, so a little bit on the warmer side, but all of us going to be on that cooler side once again tonight. We see those clouds increase. Temperatures are going to drop into about the mid to upper 30s. Some spots could drop closer to those lower 30s, which is why we're seeing that mix of mostly a frost advisory for a lot of us, and then that freeze warning for our friends over into parts of West Virginia and Virginia, as they're expected to get a little bit cooler, but we will see that widespread frost for a lot of us tonight. So you'll want to protect those plants. I do promise we do have a warm up on the way. It's not for the next few days. I'll tell you when to expect that warm up coming in a little bit.
All right, Paige, thank you. With most states easing restrictions, the projected death toll from the coronavirus is rising. Researchers at the University of Washington now say more than 137,000 people nationwide could die by early August. That number is already up to about 80,000 today. The researchers nearly tripled the death toll projections for Arizona as that state reopens dine-in restaurants today. The White House has issued a new memo requiring staffers to wear face masks after multiple employees tested positive for the coronavirus last week. Sources on the conference call between Vice President Mike Pence and state governors say the Trump administration is pushing for more than 1 million nursing home residents and staff to be tested in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, the FDA has issued emergency use authorization for a new antigen test that provides results in just minutes. But the FDA warns it has a higher chance of false negatives.
It's not dramatically higher, it's slightly higher. But the trade-off is you could do lots of these inexpensively.
3 members of the coronavirus task force, Dr. Anthony Fauci of the NIH, CDC Director Robert Redfield, and FDA Commissioner Dr. Stephen Hahn, are all under self-quarantine. 2 men are facing assault charges after getting into a using a hammer. Williamsburg police say 57-year-old Donald Neal and 51-year-old Richard Fuston got into a fight yesterday at a home on Savoy Depot Road. Officers say Fuston hit Neal with a hammer and Neal physically assaulted Fuston. The hammer was taken as evidence. In addition to assault, Fuston is also charged with promoting contraband after police say he tried to eat the contraband at the jail. In Louisville, police are looking for the person who ripped an ATM right out of a wall. It happened Saturday at a Chase bank. The suspect was driving a Ford F-350. Police say the driver hooked the ATM to the truck and just drove away. It did not take long for officers to find the truck and the ATM with the money still inside. They still have not found the suspect. Coming up on Mountain News at 4:30, different ways you could save your mortgage if you cannot pay right now.
And we're going to see a few scattered rain chances return back to the mountains. When are we going to see those? I'll have that answer coming up.